people have been beating the overpopulation drum since, well, it really kicked in the 1960s, because there were dire predictions. By the year 2000, the Club of Rome came out and said, well, there'll be riots and mass starvation and mass movement of migrants and all the things you hear about climate change because there's too many people on the planet. And that just didn't happen at all. That was just that. It wasn't just wrong, it was anti-true. It was absolutely wrong. What happened instead was that everyone got way richer, and the bottom section of the population in terms of economic distribution got lifted out of poverty. I looked at population trends, and as soon as you educate women, the size of family shrinks precipitously, like below replacement. And that's partly because women have other options. That's a huge part.
We're seeing this play out.
Oh yes. I mean, all the countries in the West are way below replacement. Korea's way below replacement. South Korea, Japan, way below replacement. Yeah, and Musk, he's a far-looking man, and so he's looking around the apocalyptic corner, let's say.
So most people in the world are operating under the false impression that there are too many people. This is not true. Earth could maintain a population many times at the current level. And the birth rate has been dropping like crazy. You can just look and say, what was the birth rate last year? How many kids were born? Multiply that by the life expectancy and say, okay, that's how many people will be alive, and then say, is the trend for birth rate positive or negative? It's negative. So that's the best case, unless something changes with the birth rate. You can look at, take Japan, for example. I think, I'm just going off memory here, but I think the population is roughly 110 million. But last year, if you take the number of children born times the life expectancy, which is 85 years, it's very impressive life expectancy, then Japan would have, I think, around 68 million people, roughly half of the current population. That does not tell the full story, because you would have an upside-down demographic pyramid. You already have an upside-down demographic pyramid where, a lot of old people, very few young people. That upside-down demographic pyramid is unstable.
We're running out of people. And what that means, of course, is that you run out of young people, right? You don't run out of old people first, because everyone who is here now is going to be 30 years older in 30 years, and it'll be young people we don't have enough of. And of course, young people are the ones who do the innovation and are going to do most of the heavy lifting, etc. And so there's going to be a terrible shortage of young people. So what do you mean too many people? Exactly. And what do you mean the planet? And what do you propose to do about that exactly? Mass abortion, is that your answer? Or should we do something a little more dramatic? Maybe we'll just shame people out of having children. There's a number of professors talking to a couple hundred students, and one of the professors who was an environmentalist activist type, and he got up on stage and shook his finger to the whole young crowd, saying that him and his wife had only decided to have one child, which was, in my opinion, one child too many for him, and told all the young people there, if they had a shred of ethical decency, that they would severely limit their reproductive potential. And I stood up and said that I thought that was one of the most appalling things I'd ever heard anyone in academia say to young people, which is really saying something, because they say plenty of appalling things. And you come out as emissary of the academic establishment. You tell young people that humanity is so corrupt that they should seriously consider not propagating, because that violates the deepest of ethical norms, and you think that's a good thing and that's your right. And it was just beyond comprehension. Humanity is like a virus on the planet, that we're a cancerous growth.
Alex Epstein calls this human racism.
Right.
And it's that.
Yeah, well, we're a cancer on the planet, unchecked growth, just like a cancer. Because what's the implications for a doctrine like that? What do you do with the cancer?
Cut it out.
Yeah, that's for sure. Poison it, whatever. There's nothing you don't do to a cancer. So you're going to use a metaphor like that? There's too many people on the planet. You're going to use a metaphor like that? And then you're going to also decide that you're virtuous while you're using it, because you're on the side of the planet, whatever the hell that means. So, yeah, it's unbelievable, and a huge part of it's rooted in this existential shame and horror at the condition of being human and the fact that life is rife with suffering and a lot of it's unjustified, and we're so contemptible that we should just roll up and die, and we should shame women into not having children, and we should shame men so they never manifest any planet-destroying ambition. And it's unbelievably appalling. It goes all the way down to the bottom of things. That's what's tearing our culture apart.